Shane Dawson is opening up about his cancellation and also posting way more on YouTube than ever before, at least since the cancellation. Things really seem to be turning around for him, as shocking as that might be to some, but he's been receiving a lot of love, not only on his channel, but on others as well that he's recently sat down with. For a while there, he was just making appearances on Ryland's channel when he was starting to get more comfortable with being on YouTube again, and then he slowly got the urge to start making his own videos. Just in the last couple of weeks, he's posted several videos and even decided to go on Steve-O's podcast. This was a few weeks ago, but I just saw it this past weekend and I was surprised to see him actually agree to sit down and talk about his life, because he never wants to do that. He actually hates doing it, and he talked about hating doing that in this podcast. So when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is quite interesting that he actually decided to do this for once. And I kind of wanted to talk about it with you guys, everything that he said, because it actually got a shockingly good response from it. I mean, Shane was even expecting the absolute worst outcome from him going on this podcast, and also anyone's podcast in general. But people were feeling like there was something authentic in the fact that he was nervous to talk about his cancellation, and saying that they felt like that meant he certainly was guilty about what had gone down. I personally just think that he's nervous about saying the wrong thing, or saying something that makes it seem like he isn't sorry about everything and he just doesn't want to get in trouble all over again. But the fact that people were so here for him opening up, it's still wild after everything. But he talked about so much, from his feelings on getting canceled, what he went through at that time with not only himself, but what his relationship with Ryland was like at that time, and where they are now, which, if you didn't know, they're on a baby journey and are hoping to have a baby really soon, or maybe two. They just did a transfer with their surrogate, and they've been really open about it on Ryland's channel and Shane's a little bit. They've been doing baby clothes hauls, they're prepping the nursery, and have even announced the baby names that they have. It's a whole new world of Shane and Ryland, it seems. Like, if you would have told me a couple years ago that we would be seeing Shane in his dad era, I would be like, what are you talking about? But his fans are excited for them. But on the podcast that he went on, he certainly won a lot of people over when he opened up about the more serious times in his life, like getting canceled. They were really pressing him on questions during the episode about that time, and it was almost like some sort of therapy session for Shane, with the way that he was definitely uncomfortably trying to answer the questions that they had for him.
You know, you were just a wild, outrageously offensive guy and everything was great until people just got upset about it after the fact.
Yeah.
Sorry. And when I say this was a therapy session, it felt like it for real, because they were basically trying to diagnose and like decode his answers every time Shane would talk about getting canceled and how it affected him.
Because you could tell when you start to talk about it, you stop talking about it, which means like there's shame around it, and like the neurons are just looping back to the same spot. And I think talking about it helps kind of connect new like neural pathways to where you're not like so flight or fright with it, and it just gets easier and easier.
He said he didn't want to seem like a victim, and also didn't want to be accused of trying to change the narrative, so that's why he just really chooses not to talk about that period in time. But they were basically like, come on, you came on this podcast, so let's talk about it. And they did. I mean, he talked about what it did to him, and how he basically had a canceled daily routine of constantly looking himself up online.
I would get up, I would go on Twitter, and I would pray to God that I wasn't trending for something bad, because it was happening a lot. You know, and if I wasn't trending, it was a good day. But then every like 5 hours I would have to check, and sometimes it would be there. And it would be like, oh, it's an old joke from a video. And then I would go through this whole thing where it's like, I can't explain it, but it feels like your stomach is eating itself, and you feel like you're dying, and you fight or flight and all that. It was probably the worst cancel situation I've seen. And it was so intense, and it like my family and like my friends, and it was really bad. But luckily I was in therapy, so she was guiding me through the whole thing.
But he says that he is good now, which I hope so, because him and Ryland are about to bring new life into this world. But Steve then brings up how before Shane got canceled, his videos were reaching like 40 million views each. But Shane says that he didn't enjoy a second of it really because of the circumstances at the time. He just felt all of this pressure to come up with the next video, and it was messing with his health and his relationship with Ryland. And so when he got canceled, he could kind of take that step back.
I wasn't enjoying it because it was always, what's next? What do I do? What if the
Right.
next one doesn't do well? And I would freak out about it and I'd be
Right.
like, well, that's not good enough. And I would film all these videos and never post them because I'm just like, well, it's not going to get 40 million views. People are going to think it sucks. What do I do? What do I do? And it was getting so bad to where my relationship was f***ed up. My eating issues were f***ed up. I was just in the worst headspace, but I was getting all these views. So it was the weirdest, and then I got canceled. Thank God, because I figured out.
And when Steve asked him why he never just took the money he made and put it into something else so he didn't really have to think about YouTube anymore, because Shane said at a time he didn't enjoy it at all and it was a lot of, pressure and it was really intense and things were just not good for him. But Shane ultimately says that he actually doesn't have as much money as everyone thinks that he does, and he didn't want to play off his little, I'm poor type of deal, because I know he knows he can't get away with that anymore. He cannot get away with saying that he doesn't have money because him and Ryland have 2 houses now and they can afford surrogates, so we know that they have money. But he's saying he just doesn't have as much as everyone thinks that he has, and he certainly doesn't have enough to just retire and go away, because a lot of people did think that at the time.
I don't have this is such a weird thing to talk about, but I don't want people to think I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't have as much money as I think people think I do, because the makeup thing, people thought I made like $20 million and I did not. And I've never killed it on YouTube, financially, just because my videos have been controversial. So it's not like I had enough money where I could just retire or something.
He says he did almost just give up and never come back to the internet ever again, but he does like making videos and he did get an itch to come back, and he wanted to make videos again because he just likes content. And with each year that passes after everything, like I said, Shane does seem more and more open to making that content, and he's even working on a movie right now. And this is something that he's wanted to do for so many years now and was going to do before he got canceled, but now is the time that it's actually happening for him. And he recently said he was even worried to put his name on the movie because he didn't really want people to judge the movie based off of just his name, but he has decided to share this movie making process with everyone and be public about the fact that he's making it. Shane is even so back into the swing of making content now that he's dug up his old red shirt and started making his old conspiracy videos again. It's just crazy to actually hear him open up about these things, but he said the reason he went on the podcast was because he just loves Steve, and Steve did his podcast years ago, so he kind of wanted to come back and see him again and be on his. But whenever he gets asked to go on podcasts, he gets nervous because he feels like other people are going to get the hate for inviting him on as a guest.
My biggest fear, and why I say no to a lot of stuff like this, not that I'm getting asked a lot, but I say no a lot because I know the reaction is going to be possibly negative for you guys. I wanted to say yes, but I know you're going to get comments. People are going to be like, can't believe you had him on and all this stuff. And then I'm not going to read it, but I don't want that to up your shit, and I don't want you to regret it.
He really thought he was about to get Steve canceled or something for having him on, and literally called himself a cancer.
The way I put it is I feel like I'm cancer in a way, where I'm like this thing where if people are around me now, they can get canceled, and that's probably ended. That was more probably a couple years ago, but it does feel like that, oh, I'm this up thing, and if you're near me, everybody's mad at you now, so I just kind of seclude.
People were definitely hyping him up though for opening up. He only got love in the comments of this podcast, which Shane certainly did not expect. Clearly, he was definitely expecting to not only get some backlash himself, but also he was expecting Steve and his partner to go down as well for interviewing him, but it didn't happen. And I want to know if you guys were surprised in the fact that Shane got so much love in the comment section of this podcast. Did you guys watch it? I know it's been out, like I said, for a little while now, but I just recently saw it, so that's why we're talking about it now. Also, let me know if you guys have been following along on his baby journey with Ryland and what you guys think about that total change up for them. They're in a whole new era of content and it's getting very family-like, and let me know what you guys think about it. Tell me in the comments below. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.